Welcome to this Drum Talk, and today we are going to talk about flat top ride cymbals. Now, I did a video in 2023 called The History of Flat Top Ride Cymbals, and I got into the Paiste cymbal company that made it famous, and I talked about my flat top ride cymbals and my journey in playing flat top ride cymbals. Today I'm going to focus on something else. In that video I had a 20-inch flat top ride, a Zildjian, that my friend Pat O'Donnell traded me for. I took the 20-inch flat top ride. He took a Mel Lewis Istanbul ride cymbal that I had. And I played this flat top ride in this video, and it was kind of pingy and kind of nasty. And I had just started following this guy on YouTube called Timothy Roberts, and he was Timothy Roberts Cymbals. He goes under the moniker of Reverie Drums. He builds drums as well. I had the opportunity to meet Timothy Roberts at the Music City Drum Show in Nashville this year, and we started talking about getting this flat top ride cymbal modified. The thought came together right at the inception of getting that cymbal that maybe I could send this off to get modified. So this is my journey to modifying this 20-inch flat top ride cymbal. Now this is the modified cymbal, okay? The original cymbal was over 3,000 grams, and today we're going to have Timothy Roberts actually explain the process of modifying this particular ride cymbal. So you get the treat of not just listening to me for a few minutes, but also listening to Timothy Roberts talk about the modification of this cymbal. Now, what I'm going to do for you today is I have some of the video of the original ride cymbal, so you can hear that. So the A Zildjian's got a little more cut. It's definitely more pingy. It's got more of that A thing. These are a little bit darker. Both of these two 18s are a little darker. And I'm also going to play you a clip of the cymbal that was the imagined cymbal we're trying to go for. One of the things I wanted to say was, when I talked to Timothy Roberts, what I asked him to do was to try to take this 20-inch A Zildjian and make it more like a 20-inch 602 flat top ride, or flat ride, as Paiste calls it, a flat ride. So here's a taste of the new cymbal. When I talked to Timothy Roberts, what I asked him to do was to try to take this 20-inch A Zildjian and make it more like a 20-inch 602 flat top ride. The problem was, and he's going to tell you about it, is the shape of the cymbal.
Guys, this is a 20-inch Zildjian flat top ride. I believe it's an older one from like the 80s or 90s. And it came in from Earl, Bennett, and he sent it in saying he wanted it to sound a little bit more like a Paiste 602, a little bit glassier, a little bit more shimmery, and he wanted a crashable nature to it. It came in at over 3,000 grams, nearly 3,100 grams, which is insanely heavy. Basically a manhole cover. Did not sound great to my ear. All ping, no wash, no ability to crash. So initially what I've done is just taken the weight down to 2,440 grams. The goal is going to be to take this down to around 2,200 grams, which I'll show you the lathing of that in just a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about the sound, what I'm going to do to achieve the desired sound that Earl had in mind when he sent it to me. So the biggest thing with any cymbal is the curvature. How is it curved? Is the, that's the curvature of the bell, that's the curvature of the body of the cymbal. It all comes down to how the thing curves. That will dictate, for the most part, how it's going to sound, and then you've got the weight and other things, surface, all other things that can dictate sound, but really we want to pay attention to curve. This cymbal has quite an umbrella shape. It's not really going to focus well on the camera, but it's a pretty domed umbrella-shaped cymbal, which these kinds of cymbals, domed cymbals, they have a little bit more of a growl to them, a hiss, kind of a sound that lives within that kind of domed shape. It really only comes out when it's thinner, so when it's super heavy, you can't really hear it. All you hear is a really high-pitched ping. But when this thing gets thinner, there's a little bit more of a growl that comes out. Lower shapes tend to be more smooth, warm, and low pitch. So the taller the shape, the higher the pitch is, but also you get this kind of complexity, this ka kind of sound that comes through. And so given that Earl wants this to be a little bit more like a 602, I have to kind of think creatively about how to get there, because 602s have a lower shape. They've got a brighter shimmer to the sound. They've got like a glassy top end and a nice low fundamental. And so to get there on this one, I'm going to need to focus on my taper. The taper is how it thins out towards the edge. And I also need to focus on the type of lathing that I do. I don't want super deep and fast lathe cuts, because that can kind of make a grittier sound. I want even, slow, and smooth, because that's going to give me a nice smooth glassy sound. So I've taken the cymbal down to 2440, like I said. We're going to go down to 2200, see how it sounds. But before I do that, let's listen to it in its current state. Now, honestly, I don't think we're actually that far off. This is not going to be a strictly, jazz flat ride. This is going to be used in all different kinds of environments, musical environments. So I'm not going to take it super thin. I want to keep a little bit more beef on the cymbal, which is why I'm kind of at first going to aim for 2,200 grams. Then we'll see how it sounds and make any final adjustments to get it to a final weight. But I think we're well on the way. You'll definitely hear the before of this cymbal in its super bright, pingy manhole cover state, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. All right, after that lathing, the new weight is 2,180 grams, or approximately that. I have a more accurate scale inside that'll get a final measurement, final weight on. But yeah, that's opened up a lot more of that dragon's breath sound that you couldn't really hear before I did the lathing, so let's check it out. So the lathing I did on the underside is kind of giving it this flop, which is what I might go in before I ship it back. I might go in and do what's called burnishing, which is where you take I have like either a big wooden dowel or a metal rod, and I apply pressure on the top surface. You can do it on top or bottom, and what it does is it either tightens or loosens the stiffness. So because of this kind of wavy, wobbly crash, where it's kind of got this flap to it. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera. I can tighten that up by doing burnishing on top, which I might do that actually, just to give it a little bit more stiffness. That'll kind of raise the pitch up a tiny bit. And then from there, I think it's done. I don't want to take any more weight off, because the more weight we remove, the more we're going to get the growl and the aggression and the complexity. We're going to be dialing down stick definition. And at that point, we're going to get into a place where it might be too tonal. It might have too many hums and notes and complexity. You won't really hear this nice, clear, glassy stick. So once I do the burnishing and then this cymbal rests, because it needs time to rest after all that work, whenever you shave weight off or hammer or do any of that, you're kind of shocking the metal, and it kind of seizes up and it doesn't know what to do. And so usually it sounds a little bit drier than it will, even after just 4 to 8 hours of rest. So this one this will sound different in the morning. It'll sound a little bit brighter, more shimmery. It'll sound a little bit more contained and settled. For now, it's kind of a little bit drier than it will be. But yeah, I think this is in a good spot weight-wise. I didn't address this earlier, but as far as hammering goes, hammering is always going to shoot the profile up taller. So I opted to not hammer this, even though I could have, because there's some areas where the shape is kind of a little irregular. I didn't want to do that though, because it would just take the profile even taller and it would get us even more umbrella shaped, and it would have introduced more problems than it would have helped. So this is a mod where I'm just only doing lathing on it and burnishing, which, as you can see and hear from the other versions, is a drastic difference, even just lathing. And if this cymbal was a lower shaped cymbal, I probably would have hammered it actually, just to kind of fine tune where the curvature is located on the cymbal. There's all kinds of micro curvatures that happen from either the bell hole or the edge of the bell all the way to the edge. All these different kind of variations in the curve. Adjusting those can really dial in your sound on any particular cymbal. So I do that in a lot of my modifications. I'm hammering to kind of adjust tension, adjust curvature, adjust stiffness, all kinds of things, and they all kind of work in tandem with each other. So it's a complicated process. This is one of the more simple mods, but I'll hop on and show you guys a video right before I ship it off after the burnishing, and then we'll send it back and we'll see what he thinks. Okay, so I actually just did the burnishing, and you can see it's kind of giving it a little bit of a brighter, shinier finish. This is how it changes the pitch just right off the bat. So hopefully you can tell it's a lot stiffer and the pitch is higher. So now it's really choked up, it's really seized up. It does not have the glassy shimmer and any wash and sustain and interesting life in the high end, but it will after it rests. The other thing I wanted to show you, kind of interesting that it happened like this, if you can see in the edge of the cymbal, maybe, right on the border there, right at the edge, is something called lathe chatter. See if I can get it to focus there. Yeah, you see that at the very edge? That's called lathe chatter. That happens when you have a channel that gets cut by the lathe grooves. It starts getting cut due to an irregularity either in the machine or in the cymbal itself. And so in this case, it's the cymbal itself. It was a little bit irregular, and so my bit started cutting a channel into it. And once it starts, it's there, and it tends to grow. So because I like to use no backing behind my cymbals sometimes, that can help the chatter or hurt it. It all depends on a bunch of different factors. But there's nothing wrong with this chatter. And if anything, it would kind of help contain, maybe, theoretically, it could help contain some weird hums. But there are ways that I can use to get rid of that chatter. On this cymbal, though, it sounds the way I want it to, so I'm just going to leave it. But yeah, I just wanted to note that. And we'll check back in when it's rested, see how the close to final sound is. And then once it goes back to Earl, and it'll probably have had a week to rest at that point, that's when it'll be almost entirely opened back up. All right, here's the cymbal after just a little bit of rest overnight. So it's going to have a little bit of a different sound from right after the burnishing. Let's check it out, and then let's ship it back to Earl.
So, what did I think of the new cymbal? First off, I think Timothy really brought this cymbal as close to a Paiste as I'm going to get it. Paiste 602s use a B20 alloy, and the Zildjian cymbal is a B20 alloy, but the alloys, even though they're both B20, Paiste's alloy is a little different because it's made in Germany, and it's different than the Istanbul B20. Because Zildjian's, I remember when I went to the Zildjian factory in 1999, one of the things they told me about the secret sauce was a little bit of silver they threw in, and the silver was always a little different, by the way. Back in the day, they used to take pockets. Avidus Zildjian used to take his coins out of his pockets and throw it into the formula, into the batch of bronze they were making. So I think there's a difference in the bronze from that perspective. But I think Timothy really got it as close as we're going to get this cymbal to sounding like a Formula 602 ride cymbal. I think it sounds so much better than what it sounded like before as a over 3,000 gram A Zildjian, flat top ride, where it really literally sounded like a manhole cover, like Timothy says in the video. So I think I've got a great new cymbal to play with. It's got context that I could play it in a rock setting, I could play it in a folk setting, I could play it in a jazz setting. I mean, it's not a super jazzy cymbal. He didn't take it down under 2,000 grams. He kept it around 2180 and change. So, I mean, this cymbal now is playable. It's usable. I think it'll work with Paistes and Zildjians because I'm a Paiste player mostly. So I think I can pull it into the Paiste family and make it work. I think I can make it work with A Zildjians or even maybe my Caropes. So thank you, Timothy, for making this wonderful cymbal for me and taking us through the process of modifying it. I'm totally excited. Now, let me say this. This is September 1st. This cymbal was modified on 8/28. That's a few days ago. This landed here at my house on my birthday yesterday, and it was exciting to get this yesterday. And like Timothy said, this is not rested completely. So probably in next couple weeks and months, it's going to rest more, and it's going to get a little bit opened up a little more, hopefully. I think this is going to be an awesome cymbal. I can't really wait to put on some more songs. Thank you, Timothy, for the hard work on this. Thank you for letting me do this video. And thank you all for watching. Hopefully you learned something. And is a Timothy Roberts modified cymbal worth the money? It's totally worth the money. I mean, truthfully, for me to sell this cymbal and then to buy a flat ride would have probably cost me another $300 on top of whatever I made for this cymbal. So truthfully, that cymbal wasn't even really good to sell. I would have had a hard time selling that for a really a fair price of today's money, what a 20-inch flat top ride cymbal would go for you, Zildjian. So this is a much cooler cymbal, and thank you, Timothy. So thank you all for watching.